Hello, podcast listeners. How are you all? I need to take a moment to express just how much I enjoy doing this podcast every week and how grateful I am to everyone who's agreed to be on the show. My guest this week is just a perfect example of the awesome people I get to meet, all thanks to hosting the City of Champions. TJ Sadler is the founder of YEG Fitness Magazine and a longtime veteran teacher in the public school system. He came across my show and started following me, so I followed him back. We exchanged some messages about how cool we thought what the other person was doing, and that was that. But several days ago, I asked TJ if I could steal an hour of his time to record an episode, and without hesitation, he said yes. So I go from not knowing this guy 6 months ago to sitting down and having one of my favorite conversations to date. TJ is a guy like myself who hopes to encourage people within the Edmonton community to go out and be a champion at whatever it is that you do. I know you'll all enjoy this conversation with TJ as much as I did. Looking you up a little bit and checking out what you're about, like you've got 2 careers essentially. Maybe you've got maybe more. Yeah. Maybe 3 if you throw an entrepreneur on top of teacher, magazine founder and writer, and then entrepreneur. So what do you tell people when you get that typical question like, so what do you do, TJ?
Typical Canadian, almost like with our heritage, right? It's a little Heinz 57. So I've taught this is my 21st year teaching high school science teacher. I think that's where my interest in fitness and wellness kind of came from is my science background. I've always been, interested in sport, interested in fitness. As a diver when I was a kid, played hockey, played basketball, played every sport. But from probably about grade 7, grade 8, started to get more into fitness. So that's been kind of something I've been interested in since for quite a long time. But with university and having the science background, the magazine became kind of I don't know what I'd call it, like just a side avenue, another way to put my creative stuff together.
Right, you've got your core interest and you're sort of like building blocks around it until you've got this like monster Death Star of fitness or science, right?
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like I started it off, let's see, about 4 years ago in March. So 4th anniversary. Just as a blog, social media.
Were you the only writer at the time?
Yeah, it was just me. Yeah. I had, a friend of mine. We were looking at starting a business together. Maybe making something a little bit bigger at the time. He goes down to Miami all the time. He's a big guy in oil and gas in the city, and he invested in a magazine down in Miami, and it was a nightlife kind of magazine, sort of a clubbing thing.
Oh, what was the name of that?
Oh, God.
Because I feel like I just read about that either in a book or on an article the other day.
Pure. What the heck was it called? You know what? And I'm not even sure if it's still...
Right, but it started essentially as like... Wasn't it a way to cater to... Because there's a lot of clubs in Miami, but there was no specific niche for like the black community. Was that it? Or am I thinking something completely different?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Anyway.
Yeah. I'm not sure what it got him into it to begin with. But it got something sparked in him that, with oil and gas, living in Alberta, lots of money, right? And it's like a drug, like you were just saying, you wanted to do something else, but right? That paycheck keeps coming in, you have a Range Rover, you have a nice house, you have the kids in private school, and, it's tough to give all that up and try and pursue something else. So we thought about doing something here, kind of lifestyle, and we were like, Avenue Magazine, all those guys they've got that covered. We're not going to compete and try and do something with a established brand. And we're like, there's nothing fitness. Like, we're both interested in fitness and wellness. We wanted to do something local. We knew the Edmonton community was way more, supportive or, community, right? Collective in their thinking. And we thought right away, we're like, let's do something where we're promoting things that are happening in the city. And he took a step aside because he was busy with his work, and I just kept doing it as a blog and social media. And then
which your kids helped you with, right?
My daughter was Instagram, definitely. Yeah. I was a Twitter, like right away. I was on Twitter right from the beginning. Instagram,
That's a whole new ball game.
That was for kids.
Yeah.
You know, that's the way I thought about it, and Facebook. But, you know, Twitter was a way to share news and find out what was going on in the world, so we could kind of share what we were doing or what I was doing, I guess, at the time,
right,
with YEG Fitness. But I brought in 2 partners when we decided to do a digital magazine. We did reached out to a couple of Oilers for like a training camp challenge, and Andrew Ference was the only one who got back to me.
Yep.
Invited me to come out to November Project.
That sounds typical Andrew.
Yeah, of course. Right, and that was when November Project had just started, and I'd heard about it. I think they'd had maybe 3 or 4 workouts at the time, so I went out to that, and we were talking about this digital magazine, or the magazine, and maybe doing it as digital. And him being a big environmental guy, he was, try it as a digital magazine at first. So brought in 2 partners who could help out a little bit with that. And then, from there, kind of expanded into print.
Right.
So we went kind of backwards, I guess.
Yeah, that's interesting that you went that way. So there's a lot of things there that I want to talk about. Firstly, going back to being a teacher.
Yeah.
So I think it's really interesting that you are a teacher, that you're a writer as well. You obviously like to disseminate information and be that guy. So when did you first realize that you thought teaching would be your career?
Grade 12.
Grade 12?
I wanted to be a doctor.
Yeah.
Even now, I tell my students about this. We don't do this as often anymore, and our school is starting to, where we do like follow your friend to work, or follow like a family. You go join a family friend or somebody who's in an industry you want to get into, and you go spend a day with them in their shoes.
Okay.
So we did that. I went to Shep, and that was something that we did as part of, I don't know if it was COM or whatever program it was, but I went and followed my pediatrician. My mom's a carrier for hemophilia, so I had to get checked up all the time when I was a kid to see if I had it. So I went and followed him. I wanted to be a pediatric cardiologist, and followed him.
Grade 12, you knew what that was? That's impressive.
Yeah, like grade 7, or probably grade 9, grade 8, I knew I kind of wanted to get into medicine. So I already, started to take the courses.
So you're a good
grade
student.
10. Yeah, like decent. I'm not 90s, but, I had the personality, I guess.
Good athlete, good student.
Yeah.
Was there anything you were bad at?
Oh, Jesus. Public speaking.
Okay.
Now I'm better as being a teacher for as long as I have. But I got to go sit with him, and at the end of that day, I knew I couldn't be a doctor.
Right.
He was a specialist. He's always on call. Hadn't taken a vacation in 2 years.
Yeah. So you go to the polar opposite of that, which is the 4 months in the summer, then 9 to 5. But I know, and I respect that teachers put a lot more work in than just an average school day.
Yeah, and it's. Definitely, the first few years are hard. My first paycheck as a teacher, this was years ago before our salaries increased to where they're at now, but I made more as a bartender the month before and worked way less.
Where'd you bartend?
Chaos Club in West Edmonton Mall.
Okay.
What's it called? I was restaurants and bars. The Senior Frogs.
Senior Frogs?
Jasper Ave, way back. I was there. And then restaurants.
Not Senior Frogs.
Right where the Rexall is, across from Earl's. Used to be Maxwell Taylor's ages and ages ago.
Oh, okay. So it was a Senior Frogs back then.
Yeah. I think it lasted
We've got a Julio's.
about 6 months.
A Julio's on White. That's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah, that one too.
Okay.
But
it's funny. There's like a generational thing of industry workers. The people had like the Barry T days and way even further back than that. Yeah. But I think working in the industry certainly builds some type of character. And it's hard, and you see so many people not leaving the industry because of that money they make.
That's right. And even my daughter is in that industry now and going to university. But it's tough when you're making $300 a night as a 19, 20-year-old kid,
right?
To want to go back to university and earn nothing or very
She's
little.
Making $300 a night. I need to go work there. Where's she working at?
It's when you get into the nice restaurants, it's pretty easy when your average guest bill is $300 or $400.
Yeah, that's true. I never did the fine dining thing. I always stuck with more casual sports pubs or couple nightclubs, but that wasn't my thing. I like to talk to people.
No, I was the same. I didn't like being there until 3 a.m. It wasn't.
So, random question for you, but how have you noticed that kids have changed over the last 2 decades? Are there any major difference? Are we all just misremembering? The typical like, oh, I remember kids 10 years ago were so much more well behaved. Like, is that true or is that bullshit?
I don't know. And you know what? I don't know if it's because I'm getting older and because I'm like, that crotchety, that whatever crotchety old guy who's pissed off at the world or pissed off at everything. But I do notice, compared to my first years that, that not that they're worse or anything. It's just they're different.
Yeah.
I mean, they're always plugged into everything. So kids today need to always be entertained. Even my son's 11. He's got his iPad and he's on that freaking thing all the time. He's watching videos, and I mean, Minecraft is a huge thing for the young guys, and he watches kids playing Minecraft and learning to build cities. But it's something that they're also doing in school, right? So it's it's encouraging kids, I guess, to use the technology and be creative with it. But the sassiness, I don't know if that's changed too much. Kids are just as sassy as they were 20 years ago, right? Just different terminology, just different slang. I think so. And I mean, parents I think are maybe busier too today, so sometimes can maybe get away with a little bit more. I know if I talk to my teachers the way some kids do today, I would have got a licking from my parents. Yeah. I would have. Well, and that's just not socially acceptable anymore either. Right. But and I mean, it's exactly. I mean, generation. It's interesting because some people will say, "Oh, they're so antisocial now; they're always on their devices," but they're communicating with many, many more people. Like, are they more social? It's just a different platform. I think they're social in a different way. Yeah. Like, social skills are diminishing, I think, because they are so, transfixed on those devices. They're not engaging with other people as much. And maybe that's, maybe our society is moving that way too, because there's more careers where you don't have to necessarily engage with people, Social media manager. I mean, you need to engage, but you're doing most of your engagement digitally. You're not needing to necessarily go and talk. Right? 10 years ago, 5 years ago, I don't even think that occupation didn't even exist. So but I mean, you sort of see the counterpoint too, and you would definitely realize this in all like the outdoor, the fitness event. There seems to be more events now than there used to be, and at least maybe just more exposure, more awareness of events, right? Like. Just like it seems like every day there's something really cool happening in the city that like we're once so inclined and had the open schedule to be able to do these things. You're like, that would be fun and that would be fun. Yeah. But it's just not prioritized for a lot of people. And you're right. I mean, there's so many things for you to choose from nowadays. I mean, nearly every studio is doing, a free workout promoting this event. And I mean, people could, and people do in the city, just hit up studios to take advantage of those free workouts because there are so many of them. So, every studio is having to do something to set themselves apart, right? Their marketing. The nice thing about social media is their marketing has changed a ton compared to how gyms would have marketed themselves back in the 90s, right, or early 2000s. A lot easier to start up as a brand new fitness business, wellness business, and not have a $10,000 a month budget, to spend on newspaper, magazine, television. You can hit that stuff so much more effectively. Yeah, if you know how to do it. Is that the way that fitness is going? Are you seeing more? I feel like I'm seeing more boutique places pop up, whether it's bar, cycle, Orange Theory. I don't know what you call that. High intensity, kind of spinny, high intensity. Yeah, exactly. And then you're also seeing on the other end, I think Good Life seems to be opening up a new location everywhere. Yeah. World Health less so, but Good Life seems to really be taking off. Yeah. It's just interesting to me that you're kind of going to both ends of the spectrum. There's not a lot in between. Yeah, I think you were saying with the boutique type studios, community is huge, right? And they all try to create their own little brand or their own sense of community by doing something different, and I think that's what people are looking for. Yeah, everyone wants to belong at the end of the day. Exactly, right. And I mean, there's been conversation and there's been lots of chat about down in the States especially about virtual reality workouts or what is it? Is it Peloton? bikes. I think it's Peloton bikes, where you get a screen on your spin bike and you
Right.
sign in to a class that's happening in New York City, which is pretty cool. You can be right there. You've got your instructor on your screen. And for some people that works, but still I think a lot of people like to have that sense of community, going
Right.
into the spin studio, you're wearing your champs t-shirt on, right?
Yeah.
So they've got their boxing community there, and people get engaged and they want to feel part of something instead of just doing a workout at home.
Right. So then what is your mission as YEG Fitness? What's your mandate?
Yeah, I mean, kind of two things. First thing was to demystify, I guess, what fitness is, because everybody for years, all the fitness magazines I ever read as a kid, Muscle and Fitness, whatever, always had some jacked guy or woman on the cover. I've got a 19-year-old, almost 20-year-old daughter, and if there was a woman on the cover of the magazine, her tits were hanging out, right? And she was in a provocative pose, and I was like, we're not going to do any of that stuff.
Right. That's all the puff, like, ultra non-reality.
It sells magazines.
Yeah.
Right? And lose 10 pounds in 2 weeks before bikini season or whatever, those headlines. It sells magazines, but that's not healthy. Quick
fix here.
Yeah. And we said from the beginning, or I guess I said from the beginning, and then we've carried it into the magazine that, that's not going to be us.
Right.
If it doesn't, just because it might sell a magazine, we're going to build our own brand around, I guess, being different and saying fitness can be, you want to do 2 days, awesome, that's great. You want to go to the gym 7 days a week, perfect. If you want to go to the gym, once a week and, have a glass of wine with the girls afterwards and then go for a walk in the River Valley, awesome.
Yeah.
Right? So just get out, be active, and be happy, I guess, with yourself.
Okay, so that's mandate number 1.
And then what the hell was I thinking for the second mandate?
Well, it's a community, I think. It's probably where you're going with that.
Yeah. Being part of the community and showcasing all the good stuff that's happening in Edmonton. When we started out, it was just like, look at all this cool stuff that's happening. We got all these yoga studios. Spin had just come to Edmonton. There wasn't any bar fitness places. You still had a lot more of the big box gyms or even the Blitz Condition, those types of places. The boutique type gyms, the smaller ones, but you didn't have a ton of them. As many of them as you do nowadays. You didn't have boxing studios or any of that. You just had your training centers, right?
Yeah. If you wanted to box, you had to go into the basement of Panther, and it smells like sweat in there.
Right.
Great spot,
right.
but
exactly.
But it was intimidating.
Yeah,
so do you think
people were just coming in?
Do you think these places sort of break down the barriers, make it more welcoming? It's like, instead of walking to a boxing gym being like, I don't belong because I'm not a boxer, this is like, no, everyone can come learn here.
Yeah. And I think that goes to the way companies are now able to sort of brand themselves. Like I was just talking to Benny the other day, and he was sort of saying the same thing. Like they're filled to the rafters, but they've stayed true to their brand over the years of, we're going to be a boxing studio. Yes, we're going to do other things, right? But everyone is accepted.
Right.
He was talking about the 5-minute plank that they do, and they're like, not everybody's going to be able to do a 5-minute plank. We don't expect anybody to do it, but it's sort of a challenge that we've put on ourselves, right? And it could be intimidating. But
what's that? They do that every class, or they try to do it every class?
I think there's a few of them.
Yeah,
we're doing an article with them on boxing fitness in the next edition. So I think I'll get into that a little more.
All right,
with them.
Stay tuned.
Yeah. No, but I mean, there's some good stuff happening in Edmonton, and that's where we saw ourselves fitting in, was finding being the platform, I guess, that could help to showcase some of these different companies. Because I mean, as a guy who's lived in Edmonton, lived in Spruce Grove, so I mean, basically lived in Edmonton my whole life. You're looking for stuff to do. It's Edmonton. It's freaking cold in the winter time, and my wife and I travel to Europe, and we're always like, so much to do, museums, and go to a cafe, and you go for not as much to do in Edmonton if you're interested in all that other stuff, because you don't know where to look for it, right? You don't know where, this class is going to be happening, or where this event is going to be happening. So trying to be a hub, I guess, where people could come to and say, hey, I'm looking for a class to do, or I'm looking for maybe a workshop to check out, or a fun run, or whatever to do. There's never really been that one sort of hub where people could go to.
Right, absolutely. And in terms of the writing, so I mean, you obviously like dispersing knowledge, as I alluded to earlier. I was wondering, like, how do you pick your articles? Do you just basically decide what you're interested in and write about it, or like think, hey, I want to learn more about that, I should write an article on it?
Yeah, we have a theme for each edition. Like, we produce the magazine every 2 months.
Yeah.
So I mean, our next edition's outdoor fitness. Yeah. And I've, over the last 4 years, kind of built a contact list of people who I know would be a good fit in that. So Michael Dietrich. Yeah, you had Michael on here.
Oh, yeah. Michael was guest like 4 or 5, I think.
Yeah.
And now he's wandering.
Yeah, he's off in Thailand.
A homeless man.
Yeah. I just messaged him the other day. He's like, you might not get a hold of me for a few weeks. I'll be kind of out of...
shirtless and in Thailand for 2 weeks.
Saw his posts on Instagram today. Yeah. But I mean, a guy like that who loves the outdoors, right, and is a perfect fit for something that's sort of outdoor fitness, or taking your camping and your backpacking kind of outdoors, doing a hike up a mountain. Maybe not for everybody, putting himself in some of those scary situations. You see him on Instagram hanging off the edge of a
apologizing to his parents on camera.
Yikes. But I mean, the idea still is, look at all these beautiful things that are right in our own backyard.
Yeah. Do you ever dive into how fitness can offset some of the stresses that modern day life brings in terms of constantly being connected? That's a huge one now, right? You left the office back in the day and you didn't have your BlackBerry or now an iPhone or whatever. You weren't consistently connected. Now people expect you to always be on, right?
Very true.
Yeah.
We try to do a bit on, every edition will have a little bit on mental health, physical, nutrition, the whole works. I usually will come into it with a list of about, I don't know, maybe 15 themes or so that we'd like to address in that edition. And then when I start approaching people to write for us, I also want them to give some input. So,
do you have new writers every edition?
Not every edition. We have a few that have written for us a number of times in a row. But because we are YEG Fitness, we try to get the community engaged in it and writing for us. So I mean, I could, as a science guy, I could write about mental wellness, or I could write about, how, I don't know, foam rolling is going to help with whatever DOMs after a workout.
Okay, so answer this. Foam rolling before or after a workout?
I always do it after.
After?
I do it after.
Okay.
But I mean, I'm sure there will be people who say that, it's better to do it before. It's like stretching. Some people don't want to stretch before, or you want to do dynamic stretching before, and other people are like, no, you don't do any at all. So
don't stretch at all, right?
Well, I mean,
you can make a case for almost anything. I noticed for me, the foam rolling, I used to always do it after workout, and it helped with soreness. Yeah. But when I started doing it before it helped loosen everything up for the workout. Yeah. So if I've got tight hips squatting, I do that on the IT band and all over, and all of a sudden squats get deeper, and it doesn't feel as tight.
That's a good point. And I mean, I've gone in with some other trainers in the past where they pull out the little peanut and you're jamming that into your hip or something before your workout, right? And then doing the foam rolling after. I'm a big believer of do what makes you comfortable, right? Do what makes you happy with fitness and you're comfortable with.
So long as you're not hurting yourself or other people,
right? If foam rolling works for you before and you get benefit from it, go foam roll before. But you're always going to have, and part of the thing we get with with social media is you make a post or you make a comment about it, and because social media is so anonymous, you'll have people who will be like, that's bullshit science or whatever, and it's like, what, okay, it could be just like so many things throughout history. Eating saturated fat was supposed to lead to high blood pressure, and now it's not. It's more the processed foods that clog up your arteries, right? So
sugar, man.
Sugar
will kill you.
I think there's a case for almost anything that could be taken either direction.
So how do you encourage, like, not only your students sort of leaving high school, but like just adults in general to continue that path of learning after schooling? Because for me personally, there was a long time between university and up until a couple years ago that like I really, there's certain things I'd researched because I was interested in, but I never really had a mandate of like continuing to learn until I started reading.
Yeah.
And then I started reading, like in the first month I read probably more than I did all through high school because I was always trying to get away with not doing that, right? And then you realize, wow, like it feels good to learn stuff, and then you tell other people the stuff you've learned, you get, admirement from them, but you also reinforce that learning. Like, so what are your strategies there?
I mean, you hit it on the head talking about reading. Well, talking about reading, right? I mean, it's something we do in my school I'm at right now. Mm-hmm. We've made it part of their daily routine in high school, where Ainley reads, we call it. I teach at Harry Ainley, and we encourage the kids to pick up a book, even if it's just fantasy or something. You pick it up, and even myself, I know that. Like, I'll get busy with school, running the magazine,
one of your 19 jobs,
just life, and I don't read for a while, and then I'll pick up a book. And for me, I'm like, what is it? Historical fiction. Like, I like something that's got a story to it, but it's historically accurate. And then that'll be like, oh, cool, it's something about Paris or whatever. And then I'll want to read something about, Paris Agreement or, whatever. I'm a social studies minor as well, so history is a big deal. Mm-hmm. But I think, like, reading, what do they say, the top 40 CEOs or something read something like 50 books a year? Yeah. Right?
And then that begs the question, like, how do they have time for that,
50
right?
books a year?
Yeah, exactly.
But we've got, what do you call it, the little audio books and things nowadays, right? So you're doing podcasts. Mm-hmm. I mean, that kind of stuff is educational. Yeah. Listen to Gary Vaynerchuk.
Gary V's
right?
He's the man.
I didn't start listening to podcasts until I listened to him about a year and a half ago. And, you learn a lot of stuff in a real short period of time.
Do you still listen to him a year and a half later? Or did you get the message?
I mean, it's a lot of repetition, and I think I cut it off a little bit. I first started to listen to him, and I think this is a lot of people who listen to Gary Vee. I listened to the first 2 episodes. It's like, this guy's an asshole.
This guy's a jerk.
I can't listen to this anymore. And I stopped. And then I was like, you know what? This guy had a lot of stuff to say that was really accurate about business. So started listening to him again. But yeah, you're right. I mean, change it up and mix it up every once in a while, and you're learning new things. Right. But you pick up different podcasts and you find stuff that's interesting to you.
But I just hear so many people saying, like, yeah, I know I really should read more. I've been meaning to read. And it's just like, I guess there's no other way to do it than do it. Yeah. But like,
there's a hockey game on tonight, or I've got to go to a concert or whatever. Life dinner gets in the way. Yeah. I don't know. For myself, I've always, I don't know, it's usually I'm starting to chill out around 9 o'clock. Mm-hmm. TV might be on, and my wife will be watching. What is that? The Housewives of New York, or one of those housewives.
I think they've got those housewives shows everywhere. There's like Orange County and New York, and
I feel my brain.
What about? Did she make you watch The Bachelor?
She doesn't watch too much of that. She has, but I don't know. They're all kind of like a train wreck. Like, I'll be sitting there with my book reading, and then it's like, what the hell? Right? What's going on? You're peering up over top of your book, trying to, and then I can't do this anymore, right? I'm feeling myself getting stupid just watching this back to the book. Right. So, I mean, I've always kind of made about an hour of my time a day to be...
That's amazing if you can do an hour.
But I mean, I'm up early for school. Mm-hmm. I'm starting from 9, usually in bed by 10:30. So I've got about an hour window in there where I'm either watching TV or I'm doing something where I can be reading a book. Mm-hmm. I'm interested in languages, like trying to learn languages. Oh yeah, but have
you looked at some of Tim Ferriss's stuff? Yeah. I have too, but again, didn't make time for it.
No, and I mean, I think I talked to my wife about this. I think there's a name for it. It's not dysmorphia, because it's like body dysmorphia. It's right. Remembering names.
Oh. Well, I know one that you can't remember faces is prosopagnosia. Okay. But I don't know about the names.
Faces I'm good with. Okay. I recognize faces. Names.
Have you heard
this?
Being
a teacher?
This is the most fascinating disorder I've ever heard of. Have you heard that term before?
Say it again?
Prosopagnosia?
Prosopagnosia.
Yeah.
No.
It's basically face blindness.
Okay.
And what it is like, not a lot, but a certain percentage of the population that has it don't even realize they have it ever because they're so good at picking up on other social cues.
Okay.
So someone's voice or the way they move or just, the way they embrace them physically or whatever. So sometimes there's people who they're like, I'm just so bad with faces, and it's because they legitimately have like face blindness.
Weird.
Yeah. That was one of my favorite ones from Psych.
Well, and that's a cool name for it too. That'll make you remember it, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, no, I've always been bad with names, and I think that's why I have a hard time with languages.
Right. Do you make your students wear name tags?
No. And I feel bad because
you just resort to hey you and bud.
Well, I mean, some of the kids some of them I've taught since grade 10, so I've taught them for 3 years.
Yeah.
By the time I get them in grade 12, usually I get them by that point. But a lot of the kids were a month into school, and I don't
lost cut. So we've gone too far. I can't not know your
June, and I'm still like, oh man, what is that kid's name? Especially a kid if I haven't really had to talk to him all that much
because he's good or because he's bad,
or just that
he's average.
They've been average and they haven't engaged very much in the class. I mean, I try to get around and I'll engage with them, but it's not that I don't find their names important. Like I find when I do attendance and stuff. I'm at a school where we have a lot of different ethnicities. So I always think it's important if I'm going to call a kid by their name,
right.
I call them by their proper name or I pronounce it properly, right? I may not remember it, 3 days later.
I know how to say it, but I just don't know it.
That's right.
That's like working at the bars. Like we have regulars who have been coming in for months. Like I've known them almost a year. Yeah. And I don't know their name.
No.
And it's like I see this guy once a week, and we've gone too far. I just can't.
It gets awkward, right?
I can't.
I can't ask this guy his name.
Hey, bud. Hey, pal.
Yeah. My wife and I have the sort of running joke where if somebody's coming up that I know, I'll just introduce her. Yeah. And we're like, oh, hey, this is my wife Ashley, and then I won't say anything, and then Ashley will be like, oh, hi, how are you? What's your name? And so now secret's out for anybody who comes out to any of our events or anything. It's like if I'm introducing you that way, it's not that you're not important. I just cannot remember.
It's just a lot of knowledge to know, right?
Yeah.
So I scrolled through your social media and through your Instagram because I'm a creep like that, but I also like to do research.
Yeah.
And you do a lot of interesting things, and you do a lot of fun, exciting things. So how do you manage that? Like, do you and your family plan things? Like, do you have every quarter, every month, or every year? You're like, we're going to hit X, Y, and Z. Because a lot of people just don't plan for that, and therefore things never happen. Or is it all like spontaneous fun in the Sadler family?
It's a lot of boring stuff most of the time. I mean, I'm not posting stuff on my social media of me sitting there with my feet up in a glass of wine,
watching Housewives
at the TV, watching Housewives or cheering for the Oilers. Right? It's like we try to get out as much as we can. Unfortunately, a lot of the stuff that we unfortunately for my family, a lot of the stuff we wind up doing is business things. My wife and I do a lot of the workouts and out at different events. My daughter and I, we got taken out to Kelowna for 3 days through Tourism Kelowna. So that was kind of fun for her and I to go have a weekend as dad and daughter. And she did some writing and I did did some photography, and we checked out some stuff. So, we try and do as much as we can as a family. Like I said, unfortunately, sometimes it's business stuff. So we try to make it fun.
Luckily, it's a cool business, right?
Yeah. I mean, it could be worse, right? I could be lugging them off to, somewhere. No offense to anybody living in the Northwest Territories or Yukon, but
kitchenware conference in Idaho or something. I just totally lost what I was going to ask you about. Did you teach your daughter? Did she go to your school?
She was.
Yeah.
She was in my class for a day, and when you're in a bigger school, I don't think there's really like a technical whatever law that the kid isn't allowed to be taught. It's just conflict of interest. Right.
You're just like, well, there's other teachers, we'll just put them over there.
And I mean, teachers would probably, your parents might be like, well, you're spending more time teaching your daughter, or you're being easier on her on an exam.
Like, no, I guarantee you I'd be harder on my kid.
And I would be. I probably would be. So, and she probably wouldn't have wanted to be in my class anyways. It's kind of awkward calling your dad Mr. Sadler instead of dad. So, I never had to teach them. But she was in my school.
What kind of teacher are you? Are you like the cool teacher?
Chill. Yeah.
Do your kids call you Tej?
No.
It's Mr. Sadler?
Yeah, and I mean, maybe when I was younger, I used to wear, the diesels and whatever, and not because I was trying to be cool, and that was just my style or whatever back then. But I've always been really laid back. I don't let stuff get to me. When I need to be a hard ass, I am. But at the same time, I mean, being a hard ass all the time and having these extremely strict, rigid ways of going through your life, most occupations aren't going to be like that. I mean, of course, there's you got to be on time, right? You have to be here. Late, that's a big pet peeve of mine to begin with.
Yeah, your time's not any more valuable than mine.
Right? We've all got friends who show up late constantly. So you make your, supposed to meet at 6 o'clock. Okay, well, we're meeting at 5:30 for drinks.
I'd like the record to show that TJ was 5 minutes early to our appointment today, which was lovely. Appreciate that.
I don't know, as a personal thing, I've always, and maybe that's, my upbringing with my parents, it's always been kind of a rude thing, I guess, to be late. There's no such thing as being fashionably
What's the saying?
Late.
5 minutes on time. 5 minutes early is on time is late, and late is unacceptable.
That's right. That's right. So I think I say the same thing to the students. It's like, you're late for class. Well, how's that going to be any different than when you're working, out in an office doing whatever? You're just doing a sales call. You got a sales pitch with some major company, and you show up 10 minutes late for your appointment.
Yeah,
you can't say, well, my alarm clock didn't go off, right? It's not an excuse anymore.
Yeah, so exactly.
Certain things I'm chill
My
with,
mom couldn't give me a ride to work.
Oh God, that's the grade 12 kids that say that.
So take the bus, bud.
Right.
So you've been teaching for 21 years now.
Yeah.
Who's your favorite ex-student? And I mean that in like who's out there doing like great things that you've like kind of kept in touch with.
Do you know the Plouffe twins, the sisters?
No.
Basketball?
No, keep in mind, I didn't grow up in Edmonton.
Oh, okay, okay. They're both on Team Canada for basketball.
Yeah.
They're doing awesome stuff. Oh, God. Who have I taught that's been at Ainley? I have a girl who's she's actually finishing her education at Ryerson, who's doing the thing that my daughter wants to be doing. And so she's off in London right now doing fashion technology.
No way.
And that's kind of cool because it's kind of inspired
fashion
my
technology.
What was it be? Fashion communications.
Okay.
So she's
what is that?
It's not doing the designing.
Okay.
But it's
like Devil Wears Prada.
Yeah,
like running
I think
the
it's
magazine.
more like you're the public relations. You're the person who'd be doing the what if you've got a client and you're the one that's sort of out. What is that called? Stylist, I guess. Right?
Okay, yeah.
So you could be a stylist, or you could be a buyer for Holt Renfrew or Saks or Neiman's or whatever.
Okay, that's got to be a cutthroat industry.
I think so.
Yeah.
And I think like my daughter's applied to get into Ryerson to get into it, and you had to write a big long essay to be able to get in, and she's got her backup plan, but that's her primary. She started at U of A and just wasn't her thing. It's pretty awesome she's got that specific of a plan.
Yeah, especially at her age, if she's 19 or 20. I know most kids don't have that, right?
No,
most kids go into university being like, well, I'm going to go to university, and then I don't know, we'll see.
Yeah.
What are you majoring in? I don't know, we'll see.
Well, and that's you start out in arts, just taking classes because you have to take an English class, you have to take a sociology class, and then you're like, what did I just waste the last year for? And that's what my daughter said. She's like, I'm not going back next semester. She made a year, and she's like, I feel bad, Dad, that we paid her university. She's like, I feel bad I wasted $7,000. I'm like, we didn't waste $7,000. You got a year's worth of education out of it, and you're not going to be wasting $21,000 for another 3 years, right? To do something or get an education in something you're never going to use or not want to use.
Yeah,
right?
Of course.
It's better you figured it out now than 3 years down the road.
Yeah.
And I mean, not everybody figures out what they want to do when they're 19 or 20 years old.
Right.
Again,
I think it goes back to like just doing things.
Yeah.
Like, make a plan and go with it and adjust. I think to me that just seems what most people who are successful in life have in common.
Yeah.
Is that they just set a goal. If things change, they change their plan and then go from there.
Yeah.
But really pouring everything you've got into that plan that you've made, and not half-assing it.
Right. And I mean, education as a teacher, it's tougher for us to say nowadays. You need that university education to get
what's
a good
going
job.
on with that?
There's
so much pushback to university.
You don't need it as much anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many entrepreneurs who didn't even finish high school, right? And they're running $1 million companies.
Right.
Now, I mean, it takes a certain personality and perseverance and sort of internal motivation to be able to do that, right? Most people that don't finish high school.
You only hear about the success stories,
motivation.
right?
Exactly.
You don't hear about the McDonald's managers who didn't finish high school. Look at me now.
And the kids who think that or look at that and they see, oh, this guy never finished university and they're running, a huge, massive. Well, I can do the same.
Right.
Well, no,
it's got to make it tougher now. Kids have access to information.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I don't know, maybe not, but to me it seems like you could lie to kids back in the day if the intent behind the lie was good. Now you can't get away with that.
Yeah. I think the one that got me and made me realize that was back with Fort McMurray before the oil went into the crapper. Kids, I'd say to kids, you gotta come to school, you gotta study, you need to get into university, you gotta get a degree and make your money. And they're like, Sadler, I'm already lined up to be going to Fort McMurray next year. I'm going to be making more money than you are.
Oh no!
And I was like, I look at the kid, I'm like, touche, right? What can I say?
Yeah.
But I said to him, at the same time, my brother-in-law, who was, kid that was similar, not motivated by school, definitely a hands-on guy, welding and whatever. He went to NAIT and at least got his journeyman certificate to be a welder. So now he's got his own rig, and while it's minus 30 outside, he's able to sit in the truck, sipping his Tim Hortons on his phone, and the other guys are outside working in the minus 30. So I said that to that kid. I was like, sure, you can go up to Fort Mac, different lifestyle, right? You're going to be outdoors. It's freezing, so it's minus 30.
You'll bust your ass for that money.
Yeah. I'll be inside sipping my Starbucks, right? Sure, I'm not going to maybe make as much money as you, but different lifestyle.
But now it's really easy to go to kids like, look, that's not promised. That's variable, and you never know when that's going to go, right?
You look at a bubble like what's just happened, right? Yeah. You can make a lot of money, but once that industry's gone, all your little toys disappear with it. If you got your education to fall back on, then you can, ride the wave out of a bad economy.
So if you were leaving high school right now, what would you go into?
I'd be in communications.
Communications,
yeah. I love the marketing and communications and social media, digital media, all this news stuff.
Did you have any skeptics when you first started the magazine? Was anyone like, come on, Sadler, like you've been teaching for 17, 18 years, you all of a sudden want to start a new business?
I think, and it wasn't a skeptic. It was a why are you doing this? It's taking a lot of extra time. was my wife. She's my number one supporter, of course, for sure, with everything. And I have to say that, but she is for sure.
Yeah. What's her name?
Ashley.
What up, Ashley?
She definitely puts up with a lot of my shit.
Yeah.
Especially weekends. Since being a teacher, I mean, I'm school 9 to 5, 9 to 4, 8:30 until 4. And then everything business takes place after that. So, coming here, she's making dinner right now while we're doing the podcast. Nice, right?
What's on the menu?
What you making? Salmon.
I love salmon. All right, Ashley, I'm coming over.
But I think that was the only kind of, not negative, like the only thing that was like not, wanting me to pursue it further. Like I love teaching.
Yeah,
I really love doing this because I get to go and meet people and talk in a different way than
so she was more the voice of reason. She was like, look, just be sure you really want to do this, and then I'm all in.
And she said, you can't quit teaching.
Nice.
You know, it's like she's a teacher as well. I mean, hey, we have a nice pension.
Yeah.
We talked about at the beginning, you know, we do get our summers off, which is nice, and the good.
Do you ever swap
the good breaks,
exams or tests and try and mark each other's?
No. It's
probably not a good idea.
She teaches IB, social studies.
Yeah, but you've got a social minors.
It's essays.
Oh, okay.
You know,
too much reading.
Science is a lot of multiple choice and numerical response. Those are
yours are easier.
Those are easier.
I see what you're saying.
That's not a fair trade-off.
Yeah. You mentioned something in your Twitter bio that I wanted to ask you about. It says dating my wife.
Oh, yeah.
What's that about?
You know, I think it's important. We've been married for 21 years. As soon as I started teaching, the same year, 2 months later, we got married. Yeah. So, you know,
that's really easy to keep track, eh?
Yeah, right.
Lucky.
Right.
Okay.
I think it's so many marriages nowadays, you know, end up in divorce. Mm-hmm. I think, was it over 50% of marriages end up in divorce? Yeah. There's ourselves,
and then what percentage don't that should? That's the question.
And you know, then that's a good thing. And I mean, a lot of marriages today, I think, or a lot of people that get married today get married for the wrong reasons. You know, it's for the wedding instead of getting married for the marriage. And
you did it for the Instagram.
That's the hard part, right?
Yeah.
I mean, every marriage, every successful marriage has had a lot of years where it's been like, what the fuck are we doing, right? And I think it's how you work through those years when it's not great,
right?
You know, and yeah, in some cases for sure you maybe don't stick around just because you have the kids or whatever, right? You separate because it just makes sense for both people. But I think it's important if you're going to have a good relationship with your significant other or anybody to feel that, you know, like you're dating, you know, and you can't do it all the time. I mean, you have work, you have kids, you can't be spontaneous all the time and, you know, whisk off
the teachers can't ditch school to be with each other. That's a bad look.
And that's the thing. But I mean, last year we got the opportunity, we won a contest to head down to Vegas for the NHL awards.
Oh, amazing.
And it was right in the middle of school.
Yeah.
So luckily we get the opportunity to take 3 days. We have to pay for a sub to come in, but middle of the year, like, boom,
get your permission slip signed and from the principal and you're out.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So I mean, it was doing something like that, and sure, we had summer coming up a couple months later, or I guess a month after that. But you know, we still talk about how that was such an awesome experience, seeing Connor get all those trophies. That was
I bet
that was pretty sweet.
Jeez, he's in tight for to do that again.
Yeah, he's getting closer.
Kucherov is injured for a couple games.
Yeah, that's right.
He was out for a little bit.
So he's only 6 points back.
Yeah, he's 6 points back.
He could get all 6 points tonight.
Tomorrow.
Oh, right, yeah, tomorrow.
Yeah. Otherwise, I would let you go if the game was on right now.
So,
getting back to the community, because the other thing in your bio that interested me was community shaper. What do you really hope for this city? Like, what do you want to see happen here?
I hope people get engaged. Like, I hope people don't look at Edmonton the way I've always looked at Edmonton. Like, it's Deadmonton, right? There's been that saying for so long about the city, and people leave Edmonton because there's nothing to do. Especially young people. I mean, my daughter is now out in Nanaimo, going to be in Victoria, because, you know, the city was just not her thing, not exciting for her, whether that's her own, you know, issues, own fault, not putting herself out there to find things to do, or just hates the cold, hates the fact that, you know, you go to a movie or you go for a dinner, and that's all there is.
But right? I think that could also be a little bit product of just growing up in a place and wanting to really break free of the bubble, right?
Yeah. Yep.
I grew up in Vancouver and I left for university.
Yeah.
And people ask me all the time, like, why would you ever leave Vancouver? It's the nicest city in Canada.
Yeah.
Because I grew up there, right? Yeah. You just get used to it. You want to go experience something different.
Yeah.
You know, London, Ontario for my first 2 years of university. That's when I really realized I took Vancouver for granted. You know, this is a city? Like, where are the mountains? Where's the ocean? What's going on here?
Yeah.
But you know, so that could be it. And I mean, obviously Vancouver Island, and that's phenomenal to go out there. So different from Edmonton. But I know a lot of people who have moved here later in life, like myself, who really love this city. Who are like, wow, there's like, and the sense of community is always the number one thing mentioned, right?
Yeah. And I think because we are a small city, but we still have we kind of have that. Well, I should say we're a bigger city, a million people, but we still have that small city kind of mentality.
So
where
small big city or big small. So I'm not
right.
Sure what that is.
A million people. I mean, we're fairly large in Canada, I guess, is in terms of a big city, but we have that community spirit, right?
Yeah.
You go to New York or you go to LA, you go to a big city, Vancouver, and just not that same sense of belonging. You can't. There's 8 million people in a city or 12 million people in a city. How can you have that sense of community? So, for good and bad, it's like any small town too, right? If you live in a small town, in that sense of community, everybody knows your business, and that can happen here in Edmonton as well. But
with community, you sacrifice privacy, right?
You do.
Big cities, the opposite.
Yeah.
So what are we lacking here? What are some things that you think we could do better in this city, or things you'd hope to see change or impacted?
And this is a contentious point, I think, for a lot of people.
Ooh, I love it.
I think it's not so much community; it's like infrastructure for transportation and having bike lanes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we live in the far West End, so it's definitely tough for us to bike downtown, right? And I know people downtown are pissed off because of the bike lanes and how the bike lanes get plowed before the city roads get plowed. And I'm a supporter of Don Iveson with trying to get that transportation system set up downtown to encourage people to bike. We're a northern city, so it's not like my wife and I go to Amsterdam all the time, and Berlin, Amsterdam, Paris. I mean, everybody's biking in those cities, right? Different climate, so it's not necessarily possible here to have it extend as much. But I think it's still a little bit of the mentality. Once people get over the fact that there are bikes on the road and they can share the road with the bikes, we don't need to necessarily have a concrete barrier between the bikes and the traffic.
Yeah, and I mean, the whole bike lane topic gets so convoluted because there's so much research, like both ways. Like there's people claim that taking up a lane of traffic takes up more, or takes away a lane of traffic, slows down the traffic. But in reality, studies have been done showing that, when you don't have two lanes, cars aren't going back and forth as much. So in fact, the traffic moves just as smooth, if not smoother, with only one lane. But then, I mean, like, you factor in like the snow and like the winter city, and like, there's so many factors. But I mean, I agree. Like, I think our transportation network is seriously lacking. Like, it's some areas in the city where it would be like a 20-minute drive are like a 50-minute transit. And that's just crazy. And I don't know if, I mean, it's cool that they've got the new LRT line going from Mill Woods through downtown, and then it'll shoot out here west. But putting that above ground, further interrupting traffic, not only traffic now, but now the bike lanes too, right? Like, I don't know if that's the right solution either.
What do you do, right? I mean, you look at your
build it underground.
It's all underground, right? Cost.
They don't want to do the upfront cost, but like, if we want to grow as a city, like, we need to look long term, 20, 40, 100 years into the future. And that's very tough for a city council that has elections every few years, right? They want to keep their job in the here and now.
Who do I piss off the least?
Well, yeah, exactly.
Right? And I mean, Amsterdam has all their whole train system is all above ground too. And I think I don't know if it's the mentality, or if it's that the majority of their city doesn't drive. Bikes have the right of way in Amsterdam. So if you've got the tram going down the middle of the street, well, now you're not waiting for a red light, or you're not waiting for the crossing arm to come down on the... I teach at Ainley, and there's the LRT on 111th. Man, I could sit there for 4 lights sometimes waiting to get my advanced phase, and you get frustrated, right? But that's our infrastructure. That's sort of the hand we're dealt, I guess, being a cold northern city. But you're right. I mean, putting everything underground would cost a hell of a lot more, but in the long term,
you satisfy everyone that way.
You don't have the traffic,
and you're not outside in the cold, because that sucks too. Obviously. So, who are 3 to 5 people that you think are making a real serious positive impact on this city currently? Like not like 10 years ago or 5 years ago, but like in the last couple years and like currently.
Man, I mentioned Don. I've liked Don. I've been a supporter of his since the beginning. I think he's brought a lot to the city. You know, when it comes to infrastructure, when it comes to the arts, when it comes, you know, people will, the Talus balls and whatever. What's that? Well, okay, they've made a decision about having
I don't mind those balls.
Budgets, right?
Our art's way better than Calgary's.
Yeah. You know, it's weird, but it's cool at the same time.
It looks good in the summer with the grass now growing
down there.
Yeah.
Oh God, who else is doing some?
And it doesn't necessarily need to be like a politician or someone putting in, you know, through motions and acts, but like even like to me, someone who stands out is Jelena Mrnjenovic, right? Yeah. Because she's just like, she's making a great name for women and how much of an impact they can have, and how, you know, titled and decorated she is. But I think like she's making a good name for Edmonton. Yeah. I think it's really cool to see what she's doing, and now like, you know, she could have bolted at any point in her career and made more money elsewhere, but she committed to this city, and now she started her new Champions Boxing Studio business in the city. Yeah. So that's one name that sticks out to me.
There's a lot of, you know, a lot of the other, not necessarily wellness sports figures. Steve Sir, we had in the magazine a little while ago.
Who's that?
Basketball guy. He's still got the NCAA record for, was it field goal or no, free 3-point percentage shooting in the NCAA's. Canadian guy, and he's
now this isn't one like I shot one, I'm 1 for 1, I'm 100%.
You see this guy shoot, and man, he'll go out when he's unchallenged. He's just shooting there. He'll be, you know, comparable to the guys in the NBA All-Star game hitting all those points. But he does a lot of stuff for the community, especially with kids. You know, so anybody who's doing work to help, you know, work with youth is kind of big on my realm, I guess. Jesse Lipscomb, love Jesse Lipscomb. He's done a lot of good stuff with the Make It Awkward event, or the summit that he had. You know, he had some issues with social media with that a little while ago, and I think a lot of
was that about like the funding model?
Yeah,
I read about
and
that.
You know what? Like, I think I publicly supported him with that. Like, I had friends on Facebook who maybe didn't know that I knew him, and it was like, you know, everybody on social media makes a comment, and maybe it's taken out of context, or maybe they meant it to be taken a certain way, right? And it just came out wrong, right? We all say stupid stuff at
now
some
it's
points.
Stuck in the ethos forever if we do on social media,
and you forget about, you know, all the good things somebody's done, you know,
100%.
And I think he's done a lot of good stuff for the city.
How weird is it now that we have social media that, like, you say Jesse's name and I'm like instantly, oh, I know he's in a tropical place right now because of his Instagram stories, and like
he and his wife took off.
We're just like so connected now.
I think so.
And I think that could help build the community. I know, like, even with this podcast, like, I'm on a one-man mission to like talk to everyone in the city pretty much. Like,
but it's pretty cool because, I mean, we had Grant Fuhr on the cover of the magazine last summer.
I didn't even know that.
I approached him on Twitter. He followed me on Twitter, or followed YEG Fitness
Grant's
on Twitter.
Grant's the best. Grant's on Twitter.
And he remembers who you are.
Yeah.
Like, we saw him at the Vegas Awards, and we were staying in the same hotel. He was there with his wife, and he looked over and waved, come on over, let's have a drink. And, you know, schedules, we got busy and stuff. But I was like, Grant Fuhr.
Fuhr's the best.
Yeah. Like, I'm a Spruce Grove guy, so I went to the same high school. I played hockey in the same Fuhr Arena.
Grant Fuhr Arena,
right? And
remind me after this to show you the trailer for the documentary.
Yeah, no, that'd be cool. Guys like that, like TJ Sadler from Edmonton, Alberta. Right. How am I going to meet Grant Fuhr? Right. And he just messaged him on Twitter, hey, would you like to be on the cover of the magazine? Just, you know, he's not going to get back to me. And sure enough, right?
I can picture exactly what it said. Yeah, sure, sounds good.
Right? And the nicest guy ever. You know, Zach Cassian had him on the cover a while ago. Same thing. You see Zach on TV, and like he's a tough guy. He's going to be an asshole, right? He's not going to be a nice guy. Most genuine, nice guy out there. So I think the nice thing about social media is it lets you, not say with celebs or whatever, but I mean it lets you like meet people that you may have never contacted or connected with before.
But you've got a shot with everyone. That's pretty much it, right?
You do, right?
You know, not waiting to like run into someone on the street. You like genuinely can like put your best foot forward and be like, hey, and if they see it, they see it. If not,
that's right. I mean, it's just somebody with similar interests with you. You're following them on Instagram or whatever, and I don't know, there's somebody in Paris. I mean, I follow this guy in Paris, favorite city to visit. Could never live there, but favorite city to visit. And restaurant we go to whenever we were there, I just messaged the guy. Same thing. I was like, he's not going to message me back. And he's, oh yeah, it's still open. Just trying to see if the place was still in the works. Right. But just being able to communicate with somebody, you know, thousands and thousands of miles away, or somebody that shares some similar interests with you. I think that's a good thing about social media.
Yeah. Oh, it's definitely got some positives and negatives, but I think the negatives are, like one of my other guests said, Kelty OConnor. She goes, I think social media is just purging all of this badness that we all had hidden away, right? The Harvey Weinsteins and the Eric Weiner, the politician.
Oh yeah.
Whatever his name was. But it's, you know, it's like, it's so sad and depressing, all this stuff that's happening, but it's really just exposing all the badness. And now, whether we're held accountable now, and you can no longer run a really shady business in a city and then just, when you've screwed over everyone in that town, move to the next city because your reputation is now online everywhere. So I think it's a good thing. I think it holds people accountable. Like, we all have good and bad in us, and we're all capable of really bad things, and we all act the way society contextually allows us to act. So if we're held accountable on a global scale, I think that can only do good for the world.
It can be good and bad, because sometimes people will do stupid things on social media and they get called out for it, but at the same time that could not destroy them, but people can sometimes take it a bit far.
Right.
I mean, I'm thinking of the three kids who were heckling Connor the other day. Right. Some, totally stupid to begin with. They're not hockey fans to begin with. The idiot who decided to post that on his Facebook, right? And now the media, of course, everybody is on these guys. And does he deserve it? Absolutely. Like, you're being an idiot. There was no need for you to do something like that, right? He's not a kid anymore. But also at the same time, when you post something on social media now, I mean, everything is under scrutiny. I mean, if he posted that and shared that with his friends before, it would have just fallen to the wayside. Nobody would have heard about it.
Right. Well, I think a couple things on that specifically. Firstly, how old are the kids?
I don't think they were
20,
maybe 20.
Yeah.
I think I taught one of them.
I think it's like, that was a really stupid thing to do, and to post it and be proud of it. I think it's a positive, because it not only teaches them a huge lesson, but teaches anyone else who sees that, like, okay, don't mess around, just don't be a dick, basically. But I think the other thing that's good that comes out of it is showing that, like, look, some of these players have to deal with a lot of shit all the time, and people don't realize it. So, like, you would always hear stories of, like, oh, so-and-so was an asshole, I said hi and he didn't say hi back, or I asked for an autograph and he says no. But that's just, like, one snapshot in their life. And, like a guy like Gretzky, who has dealt with that for decades of just constantly being badgered everywhere he goes. And so it's eye-opening for people to see that, like, these players get hassled a lot, right? And so sorry they can't be on all the time, but they're
not
human
there for
beings.
Your entertainment 24
not 24/7, right? But on the ice there.
On the ice they are, but not 24/7. And I mean, he's there with his family. And maybe it's a generational thing too. I mean, my wife and I, myself maybe more so, I'm definitely more the guy who's, I'm not going to go up to somebody if I recognize. We had Caitlin Osmond on the cover of our last edition, and she was back at the Ice Palace, and I'm like, oh shit, there's Caitlin over there. And she's skating, and I'm like, I'm not going to go talk to her.
Start banging on the glass. Caitlin!
Hey, Caitlin!
Caitlin! Hi!
She skates away, right? Same thing when we're at the awards. We finished after the NHL awards, and we came back to the hotel, and we were at Sinatra's, and in comes Gretzky, in comes Bettman. Everybody starts coming in, and my wife's like, we should ask Gretzky to get his autograph or something.
Go talk to them.
Get a picture.
Go talk to them.
I'm like, I'm not going to go up. Like, he's here having a good time. And he walks by and came back out. And she's like, go in the bathroom. I'm like, I'm not going to go get a picture with Gretzky in the bathroom. How weird would that be?
Guys don't do that.
No. Sorry, maybe
you
guys, you ladies do, right? But he came out, and I'm like, I'm good, not saying anything. Yeah. She's like, Mr. Gretzky, just wanted to say hi. Wanted to, glad for Connor. Would you mind taking a picture? And he right away is like, I don't do photos.
Oh.
And we're like, oh, okay. We weren't pissed off or anything. We're like, we understand.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm just kidding.
Oh, wow.
He was doing that all weekend with everybody. I don't do photos.
Good for him.
But
that's funny.
Super nice guy, right? Didn't need to do that at all. But you're right. Some people would, if a athlete said something like that and was serious because they've been hassled all day or having a bad day or whatever. We forget that, they are people, but some people would get pissed right off and take to social media to call them out.
That's funny. I like that. I was standing next to him one time at a hockey game, and all these people were snapping photos on their cell phones, and he and I had been talking, and I go, you have to excuse me, they all just want to capture a photo of you and I together, and you get used to them eventually. And he laughed. He's like, I've dealt with this for a long, long time. So what's happening in this city in the next year that you're really excited about, TJ?
There's the Red Bull
Crashed Ice
coming
this
up this
weekend.
Yeah. That's pretty exciting. I think having the ice district, man, we lived down there.
Yeah.
And it was a shithole when we lived down there.
Yeah.
We had a great loft.
Yeah.
Like we had a 2-floor loft, and we overlooked, downtown. People would come to our house after a night out at the Bower or whatever it was before.
Right.
And it was a great place, but on a Friday, Saturday night, it was just dead.
Just depressing.
Or, drunks or whoever just hanging out on the streets, and it was not fun. And now you go downtown and it's lively. You don't have to go for a hockey game. You can just go downtown and enjoy everything that's happening after the game or after a concert. So I like that. And I think that also has brought in a lot of these other events. Just having the ice district has opened up the city to have, was it FISE, F-I-S-E, that bike, it's like BMX bikes.
Okay.
They do the flips and stuff. They've had it down at Horlack Park the last couple of years.
Oh, cool. So is that downtown now?
Not downtown. It's in Horlack.
Okay.
They've still they need the space out on the grassy areas. But I don't know that would have come to Edmonton had...
Right. Raises the profile internationally.
Edmonton's not Deadmonton anymore. There's a lot going on in the city.
But they took away our damn slogan, City of Champions. Yeah. And, what I try and do is, we've got a lot of great athletics and athletes that have come from the city and sports teams that have won multiple championships and dynasties. But what I really try and get across is that, the champion moniker doesn't need to just be applied to athletes. There's so many awesome people doing things like you're doing and contributing to the community and really just, creating a net impact or a net positive impact that then multiplies through everyone else it touches. And if you can just make someone else's day better and they make someone else's day better, it rises all tides.
I'm sure the story of the City of Champions, right? It wasn't because of the Oilers and the Eskimos. It was right after the tornado that ripped through the city, and it was City of Champions. Everybody all came together. I'm sure the Oilers and Eskimos and everybody were part of that, but I think the moniker and what you're doing here, it does hold true. You just because you've won a Stanley Cup or you've won a Grey Cup or whatever, you're an athlete. Those aren't the only champions in the city. There's
that's just a small fraction.
Many people, right? Yeah. There's so many people. Whether it's a doctor at the U of A doing research, or some nonprofit company who's helping refugees. Syrian refugees acclimatized to -30 in Edmonton, and having no clothes and nothing on their backs, right? Getting them engaged in the community.
And immigrants who come here must just be...
Oh, boy. We've had kids at our school that come in January, this for second semester, and no parkas, right? No winter clothing.
Brutal.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate your time, TJ. Is there anything that I haven't asked you that I should have? Any glaring omissions? I appreciate, coming in here last minute and filling in for a cancellation. And
this was lots of fun.
That's good. That just gets you back on the list for round 2 when I start doing round 2s. Well, thanks so much for coming in. And YEGfitness.com or .ca? Both?
Yeah.
On Instagram, Twitter, all that stuff. Check it out. I know I was reading through it the other day, and it's just I haven't updated my fitness knowledge in a while, and I'm this is great. I spent an hour just clicking through articles.
Awesome.
And, it's enjoyable, and keep doing good things.
Perfect.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, YEG, for listening. Stay fun, stay fresh, but most of all, stay fit. Later.